Shalom. First off, give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahab Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity, the women, the children, and the confusion of faith who follow. So this lesson is going to be about hyperinflation. Okay, I have a couple videos that I'm going to show, basically detailing hyperinflation, the worst cases of hyperinflation, and really Venezuela, which is the latest case, which is also a pretty bad case of hyperinflation. So, with that being said, Lord's Word is going to be an edifying video, and we're going to get into the stats. So we're going to, like I said, go through Venezuela first. I really don't believe that they understand or really know what the true numbers were as far as Venezuela is concerned with the hyperinflation. When you go to Google and you Google the facts, it says that it got up to 130,000% in 2018. But when you go to other sources, it'll say hyperinflation hit 10 million% in 2018. Or even if you go to Yahoo, it'll say that hyperinflation hit 1% in 2018. Like I said, I really don't think that they know the true numbers, but they understand that it was a high inflation rate because the numbers kept going up, kept going up, kept going up, and the videos are going to explain everything. I'm just here to give the sense and give the spiritual sense to it. So with that being said, let's start on this first video. We're in a couple minutes to this.
We are changed that are here in the barrios of Caracas, Venezuela. We are here in the murder capital of the world. I am joined by the one and only Jeff Burrick of the Dollar Vigilante. We're here in this insane country run by insane people under really crazy conditions, and one of those conditions is hyperinflation. The currency here has been devalued 93% within the last 2 years alone. And Jeff, before telling us what's happening here, show us how much money do we even have here?
We're rich, bitches. This is about $60. So every stack is about $10, and that actually has been going down by about 100%, 100 to 300% per month now. So
everyone that's wanting to be a millionaire, hey, just wait for hyperinflation. We're all going to be millionaires. But I do want you to pay attention because he's going to say some really important things right here. He just said that whole stack is worth $10. Right, and it's been deflating by 100% each month. That means if you get $10 today, next month that $10 is going to be worth maybe $1. If that. So let's carry on.
This is $10 now. It will be in about, actually that's $5. The bigger stacks are 10. Next month it'll be $5. The month after that'll be $2, and it's deep hyperinflation here.
Now the government is obviously overprinting a lot of its money, devaluing the value and worth of it. And you said that they're blaming a website because of this?
Yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
So he said that the government is printing money, and that's the cause of hyperinflation. What's going on right now in the U.S.? We understand that they're printing off a lot of money. QE3, QE4, everything that's been going on with the sickness, and they gave out all these checks to everyone. All right, that money has to come from somewhere. They had to print that money off. Not only that, you're dealing with the situation with Ukraine and Russia, to where they're moving off of the dollar standard and trade for oil. All right, Russia is wanting to trade in other currencies to China, to North Korea, to Iran, so on and so forth. And guess what? Those countries don't need the dollar anymore. So what are they going to do? They're going to sell those dollars, and all those dollars are going to come home to America, and that's going to hyperinflate the economy, because when you have, like he said, it's printing off the money. All the money that's in circulation right now that's in the world is not that bad because it's spread out. But when all those dollars come home, there's a surplus. Now those dollars aren't worth anything. So I'm gonna let the video continue.
Yes, all hyperinflations are caused by central banks printing too much money, but all central banks always say it was never them; it was some other reason. If you look back through hyperinflation with the Weimar Republic, for example, it was the bankers and the economists, even when they printed 1,000,000 times the money supply in a couple of years, said it was because there just wasn't enough money in the economy still. They had to do it. Or the economy was causing problems. The money wasn't moving around fast enough. So the reason here is the exact same reason as every other time. The government spent way too much. So this goes back to Chavez.
Hey, they should lay themselves with their clay. All right, that heavy debt about you. This country is 30 trillion in debt. They spent too much. How many times did they have to stop the, what was it called, they couldn't fund the economy. So they had to, you couldn't go to like the national parks or the museums. All that stuff was closed. All that federal land was closed because they couldn't pay the bills for everything. The spending limit. So this place is a ticking time bomb.
When oil started going up in price, they had a lot of money. This is a very oil-based economy here in Venezuela. Then they nationalized it, and then they
And America's an oil-based economy as well. We sell a lot of oil and we produce a lot of oil, but we are dependent on oil for a different reason because the dollar bill is the world reserve currency in oil. So when these oil barrels are inflated, okay, so when it takes $120, $140 in order to buy a barrel of oil, opposed to that 100, that stretches the dollar out. Now that makes your dollar worth less.
they spent a ton of it and stole a lot of it. Chavez's daughter, I believe, is worth $20 billion now. I don't know where she made that money, other than it was all stolen. So they spent most of the money, and then now the oil prices started to go down. So now, in order to keep spending a lot of the money, a lot of these go to really building little shacks like we are here. Like they help build poor people some really crappy shacks. That's where it goes to, and then they don't have any money to pay for it, so they keep printing and printing, and now it's gone into printing so much that the value. We're at the restaurant, and they change the price on the menu every week.
Yeah. I mean, we're just seeing huge, insane lines for basic necessities because the government has set price controls on things like toilet paper so poor people could afford them, but the companies can't actually import them, can't actually produce them for the cost because they inflated the currency so much. And the black market, of course, is thriving, and you could just meet anyone here in Venezuela, give them a...
Right, so it's a like a, not a circular argument, but it's a circular motion. Okay, you need toilet paper, but you can't afford the toilet paper, so the government sets a regulation for the toilet paper. But in order to get the toilet paper, you have to get it into the country, but you can't get it into the country because the money isn't worth anything. So you print more money, and then because you printed more money, now the money's worth less. So it just keeps going. It just keeps going. It just keeps going. This is how the hyperinflation is able to go from 1% to 5% to 7% to 10 to 15 to 20 to 40 to 70 to 80 to 130 to 200 and so on and so forth. And then before you know it, you're Venezuela, walking around with book bags full of money to buy lunch. The Weimar Republic, as he said, walking around with wheelbarrows full of money for a loaf of bread. And when we go to the next video, they're going to give you examples of what this money, all these millions and billions of dollars that you have, is actually worth.
a couple dollars, and they give you pretty much all of this, and you have to walk around with just shopping bags full of money to buy just basic necessities, which is just utterly insane. And obviously, crime is also a huge issue here in Venezuela. But most importantly, I want to talk to you about what's happening in the United States, because you just showed me a sneak peek of your video. It's really, really well done, really well done. Just an amazing video. The link to it is going to be in the description below, but you talk about a lot of the things that are happening in the United States. There's a movie that just came out called The Big Short.
All right, that's all I want from that video. And keep in mind, this is from 2016, from about 5, almost 6 years ago now, but it's still pretty relevant. I believe Venezuela's inflation rate is around like 600 right now, which is still beyond anything that we would understand here in America, with ours really being around 15%. They say 7, but it's really about 15%. They have another video of these two guys that I want to show real quick. They have a couple more points.
Of course, we had to change money inside the airport because to get the amount of hyperinflation here is actually just unbelievable. You need a backpack full of money to buy a dinner. And then once we got into town, it was just crazy story after crazy story of, and we're just seeing the lineups. This is a true country in collapse. This is a hyperinflation and socialism reaching its ultimate end.
This is a true economic Armageddon. Venezuela is in a state of emergency right now. Its currency has been devalued 92% since the last 2 years alone. And the things we have been experiencing here, I mean, I grew up in Brooklyn in the 90s. I saw people shot. I saw people stabbed. My friends got killed. I went through all that, but what I've experienced here is far more than I thought I would ever see anywhere in the world. And it's like the criminality is brought on by the government as a way to control the people. Like, we were driving by and our fixer showed us this huge building. And he was like, yeah, this is a building, a skyscraper, that's being run by a criminal organization. There's people squatting in there, and this is where all the kidnapping happens. But you walk around town, and there's government-mandated signs saying gun-free zones everywhere you go, and no smoking signs. While there's massive, incredible crime, our fixer lost 2 of his best friends who were...
And that's really what's going to come to America. All right, they're going to ultimately say they're doing this for peace. I want to get the scripture real quick, and then we'll go to the next video. This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. It says, "For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape." So right now, you can go to the coffee house and you'll get a cup of coffee or go get a burger or whatnot. But once this hyperinflation starts rolling, things are going to change in your everyday life. Matter of fact, let me play this out just a little bit more, and he's gonna basically tell you exactly how it's gonna go.
Which was a really fascinating, amazing movie. And it pretty much highlights how after the 2008 financial crisis, how the problem was never solved. The bubble just got bigger, and it's going to pop once again. The government was hiding with ratings agencies how horrible the housing market was in 2007. The housing market really was crashing in 2007. They were artificially holding it and lying to the people, and then 2008 finally just blew up in everyone's faces. They paved over it with more debt, with more lies, with more just insane government policies. So what do you think is going to happen in the United States with this huge bubble that we're all facing?
Well, I've been saying since today, probably be up by the time this is up, talking about how I and so that was the beginning, and then I just started to discover more and more about their timing, and since then is printing more money and going into more debt. So the world's much more in debt.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure where the clip is at, but basically they had a Tinder match. Okay, I don't know why they're down there doing Tinder, but who am I to say what they should and should be doing? But they were walking around at night. Matter of fact, it is in this video. No, it's in the. This is the shorter video. It's in this video. I'm sorry, I went to the wrong video. That's why it played that. Slakia.
Murdered on 2 separate incidences just 6 months
Here it
ago
goes.
alone.
This is it.
I mean, we were out just walking around last night. Just tell us, like, what was like that experience for you?
It's the first time I've really seen anything like this. It's truly reaching the end of the socialism here, reaching its ultimate end that socialism always ends in. It's also reaching just the end of the currency, the hyperinflation, and I've heard it's hundreds of percent a month right now. And we went to some of the restaurants, and all the prices on the menu are in paper, and they like taped onto the menu because they have to change it every week, and sometimes even more than that. It's changing that fast. It's really like it's interesting, and you brought up the gun-free zones. That's the most interesting part to me. Is no one is allowed to have a gun, and this is the murder capital of the world. So we walk into the hotel at night because we're a little crazy. We're told by everyone don't go out, and we went out. There was no one anywhere. It was like a ghost town, and
right. This is what I wanted to get to. All right. If he said they went out at night, nobody goes out at night. It was like a ghost town. Why? Because it's dangerous, and that's how it's going to be here in America, where there's not going to be a nightlife. Why? Because you got hungry people out there, physically hungry and hungry to get resources. So what are they going to do? They're going to creep in the night to get what they need to get. All right. So, and he's going to tell the story. Come on, baby.
when we get back, the security guard is hiding behind a door because he doesn't have a gun, and the bad people all have guns.
Yeah, security guards are not allowed to have guns here. There's gun-free zones everywhere, and criminality and murder and kidnapping is at a level that is extremely, extremely shocking. Our fixer
sounds like Los Angeles right now. This is currently going on in Los Angeles, not on this level, but it's you starting to see. They're saying they don't come to Los Angeles. We cannot protect you because of the kidnapping, the stick ups, the what do they call it? Basically, they'll follow you back to your house, and then they'll rob you and take all your goods or whatnot. This is what America's coming to. This is an excellent video to show, in microcosm or a microcosm of what America can come to or what it's going to look like. All right, this is Jacob's trouble before us.
has a huge medical kit with him in case me and Jeff get stabbed or shot here. We have tinted out windows so no one sees who we are. We always got to lock the door. Last night we were walking with a mutual Tinder match that we had, and we were walking just from a car to another secure kind of castle club area behind. And as we're walking, she just sees a regular guy, and she's like, and she's running, and we're like, whoa, what the hell? Like I'm just like mentally getting prepared for anything to happen. And it's just another guy walking down the street. We're driving around. And
exactly. Women are going to be scared in that day. All right. All these bold women, they're going to be scared. They're going to be afraid. It's just a regular guy walking down the street. Why? Because they know, they know that if a man wanted to take them, that they could. That they have no power over that. That if a man really wanted to get bold and manhandle them, that they could do that. That's why she took off and ran. She probably ain't used to going out at night, but she seen some white boys, they probably got some money on them, and it's a chance to come up. I think that's all I really wanted in there. Let's go to the next video, which is the top 5 worst cases of hyperinflation. We're just going to do the top 2. Okay, so here we go.
Zimbabwe.
Matter of fact, before we get to this, I actually want to get this scripture. This is Job 5:12. It says, He disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. So who is he? He is the Most High. He is the one who is going to disappoint the devices of the crafty. Who is the crafty? The crafty is the international bankers, the people who own these central banks, who are who are propagating the hyperinflation here in America, and it's also going to hit in other places around the world, which are going to usher in the MOTB. Okay, it says he taketh the wise in their own craftiness, and the counsel of the forward is carried headlong. Okay, so as I was saying, they're going to try to set up this new world order. Okay, that's what that enterprise is the new world order, and this hyperinflation is a big part of it. In order to crash these economies and to bring in the new world order, to bring in their kingdom of heaven, I guess you would call it, they have to crash this one, and they have to have the people willingly do it, because somebody has to be slaves. That's why they have the Georgia Guidestones that say, they want to live in harmony with nature at a population of 500 million. Well, how do you get rid of 7.5 billion people? That's why you have famine. That's why you have disease. That's why you have murder, and have them kill all themselves, and all kinds of uproars of the people, and this, that, and the third. Not this, that, and the third, but different insurrections. Okay, black on black crime. You have uh, race wars, things of that nature, things that pit one group against another group and have them take them out. All right, it's all thinning the herd. It's all part of their plan to get the paradise that they want, so to speak. All right, so let's get to this video.
The silver medal goes to the most recent case on our list, Zimbabwe. The African country had the world's second highest inflation in the first of the 21st century in November 2008. The prices increased 79.6 billion percent. A bag of sugar cost about 90 billion Zimbabwe dollars, and salaries of unskilled workers were around 200 billion.
So sugar costs, what do you say, $90 billion for sugar? Right. So this is Second Ezra chapter 16. Yeah, Second Ezra 16 and 11, it says, Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. Right. Right now,
I get further and further in. By the time I hit the 90 days, I had lost right at 30 pounds, and my jeans were falling off of me. I lost 53 pounds. I would say that it far exceeded my
commercial. That missed my whole train of thought.
Workers were around 200 billion. That was the equivalent of $10 a month. 150 billion Zimbabwean dollars got you 20.
Slakia, that kind of messed me up. I don't even remember what I was saying. I'll read the scripture again. 2 Ezra 16 and 21, it says, Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. Right, so he said the sugar was 90 billion. The eggs that we just saw were 150 billion. Right now, you can go to the grocery store and get some eggs for $3 or so. We had the last video, if you check that out, where it showed that the eggs were like $1 and some change, and now they're $3 and some change. By the end of the year, they might be $5. So this is starting that process that we've seen, all these other examples go through, where the prices are rising at a steady rate. Right now, it's every 6 months they're going up a little bit and up a little bit and up a little bit. But sooner or later, man, it's gonna, like I said, that ball is gonna roll down the hill. It's gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's gonna come at you. So it says, even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. All that is coming to this place, America. The famine. Look what's going back to this Russian Ukraine conflict is really major because the West is putting all these sanctions upon Russia, and Russia is really a main staple in the feeding of the world. Okay, 25% of all calories in the world come from Russia in their grain. So you got to take out that big chunk, 25%. Everyone's intake is going to go down, and everyone's costs are going to go up. Right? Because the supply and demand, that demand is going to be the same. We're still going to require 100% of the food that's being made in the world, but only 75% of that food is going to be made available. And really, even less than that, because when you go into the fertilizer, the natural gas that Russia is pumping out all over the world is used to make fertilizer. And that fertilizer is not going to be made ready for the farmers. So what? The farmers aren't going to be uh, planting as many crops. And if they're not planting as many crops, now you have even less food that's available. So do you see how a famine can come into play? And now you're going to have long lines, like they said. You're going to have people needing and wanting these different necessities, and they're not going to be available. We've seen what happened when the sickness first broke out, and everybody hit the store, and there's no toilet paper anywhere. There's no hand sanitizer. You know, if you're smart, you went to the liquor store and actually bought some uh, high percent alcohol, some grain alcohol, because it works just the same as hand sanitizer. But you know, that's just a tidbit for you. At the end of the day, Yahweh Shem Yahshai gonna take care of his own. So I'm just putting this out there so that we have an understanding on where we're at right now, because the inflation is moving up slowly but surely. But this is what it's gonna look like, and people are gonna panic. People are gonna lose their minds once it gets to this level. So we need to understand that right now, and internalize it, increase our faith, increase our trust in the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, so that we don't fall into the wiles of the devil. All right, so let's keep this is the last video going. It's about 5 more minutes in it.
Eggs and an average retirement pension paid out $130 billion, which at one point was worth less than $1. To understand what led to this, we need to understand history. After years of fighting between the white regime and black nationalists, Zimbabwe gained independence in 1980. Robert Mugabe emerged as a national leader and was able to consolidate his powers. During his government, he moved toward an authoritarian regime of one-party rule and joined the First Congo War in 1990 and the Second in 1998. In 2000, he promoted the fast-track land reform program, which seized white-owned land without any compensation, ignoring a former joint effort with the British government. To make that possible, the central bank started lending directly to new farmers to finance the operations. This led to farmers being replaced by inexperienced, sometimes first-time landowners. Together with the impact of severe droughts, agricultural production and exports declined significantly as a result. The economy stagnated, food shortages and riots started to take place. The involvement in the wars and accusations
And food shortage caused the people to riot, to have those upwards of the people. The austerity, not the austerity. What's it say in 2nd Ezra 15? Give me a second. Second Esdras 15 and 16, it says, "For there should be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." So that sedition among men, that's people bucking against the government, people crashing together, okay? You're going to see those uproars of the people. And it may not have happened the same way as Zimbabwe, but it's the same elements that are going to cause the hyperinflation.
Of human rights violations raised international criticism, and the country became increasingly isolated. All the uncertainty had a profound effect on the foreign investments, which fell from $400 million in 1998 to $30 million in 2007. Since its independence, there was no year that the government had a balanced budget and never a surplus. When inflation accelerated, the government tried measures like redenomination of the currency, limiting on money withdrawal, and a price freeze. Hyperinflation followed, and the population moved to foreign currencies, which exacerbated the situation. In 2009, the country created a multi-currency dollarization system that replaced the Zimbabwe dollar. Although it calmed the situation for a while, until today, even after Mugabe's deposition via a coup in 2017, there are still reports that the inflation rate is above 50% in the country. Number 1, Hungary. Hungary experienced after the Second World War what is to this day the world record in inflation. The country had an inflation rate of 4.19 quadrillion % in July 1946. Historians recall that the famous Hungarian poet George Faludy was paid 300 billion pego by his publisher. With the money, he was able to buy 1 chicken, 1 liter of olive oil, and a few vegetables at a local Budapest market. During this time, prices were doubled.
Did you see that? He got 30 billion and was able to buy a chicken, some oil, and a couple vegetables. That was his whole wage for printing a book or printing his poetry, whatever you want to call it. And price changes are happening every 15 hours or doubling every 15 hours. Can you imagine buying a bagel for $3 and then coming back the next day, that same bagel is $6? Coming back the same day the next day, that same bagel that was $6 now $12. The day after that is $24. Then it's $48. Then it's $96. Americans ain't ready for this. They complain about high gas right now. The gas ain't even high as it could be. When it's $5 a gallon everywhere, when it hits $10 a gallon, we're gonna see who gonna drive to work then. They're gonna demand wages. They're gonna demand more wages. But as you can see, that's just gonna hyperinflate the economy because the government is gonna have to come in and give everybody money, which they're gonna have to print the money, which is gonna put an influx of money into the economy. So everyone's gonna have a higher salary, just like it says. People had in Venezuela, people had to their wages had to go up to match the hyperinflation. So if you're making $300 an hour, but it costs $300 for an apple, you're working for an apple an hour. Nobody's going to want to work for an apple an hour. So people aren't ready for what's really going to happen here in America once this hyperinflation actually really gets to going and hits the economy. Like I said, they have to do this in order to bring in the MOTB. And I'm going to let this video play, and it's going to explain to you.
15 hours. With such high inflation, people started to rely on the black market. The desperation of the government was so big that it imposed the death penalty for dealings in black market trade in 1945. A note with a face value of 100 quintillion pego was issued. Until today, no banknote with a higher denomination was ever issued. The roots of this nightmare are in the war damage, lack of reserves, reparations, costs of occupation, among other reasons.
War damage, Russia, Ukraine, lack of reserves. What are they talking about doing right now? Going into the oil reserves, reparation costs, all paying back all the stuff that happened for the war. All right, that hasn't happened here yet, but occupation, they have to pay the people. There you go. Validation, vindication, everything I just said, bam, they just showed you. Through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, because it's not me. I don't want it to, Salakia if it seemed like I was praising myself right then. It's all through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Shem Yahshai. This is his movie. He is the one who's making this happen.
After the war, the situation was catastrophic. In total, economists estimate that 40% of Hungary's non-human wealth was destroyed. This had a huge effect on the production capacity and put the pressure on prices. The Soviets signed the armistice with Hungary and set reparation costs at $300 million, which included the removal of equipment. The Hungarians also had to pay for Soviet troops stationed in the country. According to estimates, Hungary's after-war bill was between $600 and $900 million. With a huge deficit and isolated, Hungary had no other option than printing money. It printed so much that currency circulation passed from 25 billion pango in July 1945 to 1.6 trillion by January 1946, reached 65 quadrillion by May, and 47 septillion pango by July 1946. In 1947, the Hungarian government announced a reform, created a new currency, and stipulated rules such as new central bank regulations to govern.
And that's the smoking gun. How did they get out of it? They had to come up with new laws, come with a new currency, and a new central bank. All right. So what will be the new currency? It's going to be that MOTB, the microchip, the RFID chip that they're going to implant in your hand. Let's get that while we're here. All right. This is Revelation chapter 13, verse 15, it says, and he had power to give life into the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he caused of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free or bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, right? A cutting in the flesh, a charagma, all right, which is going to be the RFID chip, okay? It says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So you're not going to be able to commerce, you're not going to be able to trade, okay, unless you have this mark. It says you can't buy or sell. So how are you going to go to the movies? How are you going to go get that loaf of bread or that gallon of milk? How are you going to fix your car? How are you going to put gas in your car? How are you going to get paid from your job? How are you going to operate in society without this chip? You have Yahweh Shem Yahshai on your side. That's how. But I'm going to just replay this last little clip just so that you can hear it one more time.
Trillion by January 1946. Reached 65 quadrillion.
Oh, shit.
Pango by July 1946. In 1947, the Hungarian government announced a reform, created a new currency, and stipulated rules such as new central bank regulations to govern.
What are the central banks trying to do? They're trying to bring in the cryptocurrencies. Everybody's trying to come out with their own cryptocurrency. It's all lining up. All these central banks are coming up with a cryptocurrency so that they can so that when they switch the currencies, bam, it put it in your hand. All the people are going to be begging for it. In hyperinflation, they're going to beg for it. All right, when you have to have a book bag full of money just to go to lunch at Burger King, people are going to beg for this, man. So this is their plan. Going back to Job 5 and 12, this is their enterprise. All right, and it says that Yahweh Shem Shai is going to disappoint the international bankers, the crafty. So with that being said, Lord's Will, this was an edifying video, and I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity, the women and children, and the confusion and face who follow. Shalom.